advice on your very own Airbnb, and a story about the wrestler and not wrestler Shawn Michaels on this episode of Angel and the Advocate. It's terrible.
You're listening.
This is
to
horrible.
Angel and the Advocate, episode 4.
No, you're not. No, I refuse that. Rejection. Where's Joanna, dude? What happened to her? What happened to the thick accent?
You're listening to Angel and the Advocate.
The podcast keeps evolving. You know, we have to keep changing it up every week.
It's been, I guess, a couple weeks because we blew it on the last episode with the microphone audio issue. So
Coachella's this weekend. So
what's that? Never heard of it.
Biggest music festival in the world.
Oh yeah, that's right.
Big influx of traffic. It should be fun.
Yeah, how long till they're out of lemonade at the local Ralph's?
2 p.m.
Yeah, 2 p.m. Right. That's the one thing I always notice first is like liquid section of the grocery store gets just ransacked. Like it starts with like the things that have no carbonation, whether that's like the Gatorade, the fruit juices, the lemonades.
Yeah.
And then it slowly drifts all the way across. The water obviously gets knocked out real early, and then all the way through into the sodas and all that stuff. But I always notice like that's a section that gets ransacked.
With Coachella coming to town, there's people selling out their houses, making like $20K a weekend,
sure,
a month or whatever. If I wanted to start my house and set it up for an Airbnb,
real talk, I'm hearing people getting $30,000 and $40,000 in the month of March or the month of April. Obviously, the month of March has a little more to do with the BNP, tennis tournament, Indian Wells, and obviously April, of course, is back-to-back 2 weekends of Coachella, followed by 1 weekend of Stagecoach. So that keeps both those months kind of busy or most lucrative in the Airbnb side of things for sure. I would say if you're like looking to buy a house right now, you're late to the party. Like you're very late to the party. The party might be over. The cops are like already in the driveway. I don't want to discourage anybody from wanting to be an investor, having those kinds of things, but you're looking at cities that are already shutting down and clamping restrictions on short-term vacation rentals, which is really the bread and butter of like the Airbnb business model. So if you're unable to get a short-term vacation rental permit, which is what you're facing in cities like Palm Desert, La Quinta, I believe Palm Springs, even Cat City. So basically the vast majority of the Coachella Valley, to the exclusion of I think Indio might be still providing them.
Indio,
and same
Coachella,
with, the city of Coachella. I think those cities are late to getting people investing and doing those things in their cities, and so they're still open to it. But sort of the rest of the valley that maybe had some, I don't know, I want to say like more availability in the residential side has already sort of clamped down, and you're you're late to the party for those parts of town.
But what I was saying, not just looking to buy a house, but let's say I already have a house, and I'm like, you know what, I want to do this, but is there like any laws or permits I need to get to just?
So yeah, I mean the first one,
Reddit.
The first one is the one I just mentioned, which is the short-term vacation rental permit. That's the hardest. STVR is kind of what the short-term vacation rental (STVR). That's the most difficult one to acquire. Again, if you're not in Indio or Coachella. If you're in Indio and Coachella, which is probably what we should talk about because that's like where it's still active right now.
Well, that's where the festival takes place. Around that, people, I get like the Palm Springs vibe, but if I'm going to the festival, I don't want to leave at 1 a.m. and then have a shuttle to Palm Springs that's like an hour late. It's just too much.
I totally agree with you, but the reality of the way the festival is today is that the vast majority of people are staying and spending their money, whether anybody likes it or not. I know they're trying to work on it, but it's still at this point, the vast majority of the money is being spent in cities like Palm Desert, Indian Wells, even La Quinta because of the major resorts, and obviously the, more, a significantly larger number of Airbnb type availability. That being said, that's why Indio and Coachella are continuing to allow the permits. And it's also part of the problems that those other cities are having and why they're clamping down, right? Neighborhoods are feeling disturbed by it and things like that. Also, the truth is for here in the Coachella Valley, you have a very strong year-round rental market for the short-term vacation rentals, right? And so it is a very much a neighborhood type dispute when people are upset because it's not just these couple weeks. I personally believe that almost the entire valley seems ready to absorb a painful month of April as far as inconvenience for traffic and things at the grocery store that you might not otherwise be able to get, and maybe seeing some things on the streets that you're not used to seeing or whatever, right? And just sort of like the general influx of youth into our community. And I think the valley really puts up, I don't want to say puts up with it because I don't think it's that big of a deal, but we are like receptive. I think a lot of people really enjoy the notoriety that these festivals bring to the community. They understand the tourism is kind of the lifeblood of the community as well. And so I do think there's a lot of people that are more accepting of, obviously the pros of the festival, but the cons as well. Going back to the short-term vacation rental though thing, if you're in India or Coachella, the first thing is getting that permit. Once you have that permit, now it's like game on. Effectively, you need that permit and the license number that comes when you're issued the permit from the city in order to properly register your Airbnb or your VRBO, not to put the shine light only on Airbnb, but in order to properly register your property for sale, you need to have that license number on there. And that's even if you have it on your own website. So if you're like Angel's Vacation Rental or, Angel in India, whatever it is, right? You still going to need that number because every advertisement needs to have your license number in it.
Okay.
And so the same thing goes with Airbnb, VRBO. Those providers, though, they definitely have an upper hand because the cities usually work with them. And I'm not sure about the specifics of Coachella. It's kind of an ever-moving target. But the cities usually work with them so that they won't let you list without the vacation rental number, so that there's some kind of ways for them to regulate it a little bit because things were obviously getting out of hand in the very beginning with just everybody throwing their house up whenever they wanted. Another thing that I think's, I know what you want me to do. You want me to give advice to people that have these houses. So like the next step, the next step, to me, I know I'm a lawyer, so I see things a little bit differently, but like that permit, it's an obvious, right? If you want to have a short-term vacation.
Make sure it's legal first.
Exactly. But the number one thing people screw up after that permit issue is the insurance on their house. You think you have home insurance, you have homeowner's insurance, so you're good. But homeowner's insurance doesn't always, and often is the case, doesn't cover commercial activity. If you rent your home out for as a wedding venue, it's not always just, short-term vacation rentals.
Yeah.
But if you rent your home out as a wedding venue and one of the lovely candles catches fire, you might not have coverage because that's not a homeowner's, that's not a home use of the property. That's a commercial usage as soon as you rented it out for money, right? And the same thing goes with short-term vacation rentals. People go to sleep in your house and something catches fire and now you have a big problem on your hands, or somebody, a child falls in the swimming pool and God forbid, is injured or something like that. Your insurance is your number one line of defense in these situations. And a lot of people just think of it as, I have a homeowner's insurance policy, I'm fine. But you're not using your home like a homeowner all of a sudden.
You're a business.
You're a
almost.
business,
Yeah, it's a business,
exactly.
yeah.
And that's what, for the most part, you need to disclose that to your homeowner's insurance policy. There's obviously an increase in premiums, but you can absorb that, hopefully, if you're doing things the right way in the price that you're charging for your Airbnb as well. But that to me is the most dangerous thing that I see rampantly through the Airbnb world is just the wrong insurance or no insurance at all. And this belief that it's a house, what's going to happen?
Yeah. You just never know, especially with people that are just coming in.
I'll tell you what happens. What happens is the guy from Orange County shows up, he brings his Ferrari, parks in the driveway, and then unbeknownst to you, there's some fire in the house, has nothing to do with anything. A rat chooses a wire or something on the ceiling or whatever. Bad luck comes upon you, and the house catches fire, and the ceiling falls through in the garage and crushes the Ferrari. And now you're like, homeowner's insurance, I don't want to pay for that Ferrari. And the homeowner's insurance is like, we don't want to pay for the Ferrari. Let me remind you, insurance companies are in the business of taking your premiums and not paying money out. That's how they make money, right? We collect premiums and we don't have to pay out as much as we collect. That's how they make their money. So if all of a sudden they're covering everything, they ain't going to make it.
Yeah.
Exactly, right? So this is one of the ways, that's one of the exclusions. It's not just the stuff inside the house, right? It can be a lot of different things. The Ferrari's always brand new. It's always filled with jewels and diamonds and Louis Vuitton bags. You know what I mean? It's one of those things.
I mean, I don't hang out with too many people with Ferraris. I wouldn't know what's inside a Ferrari myself. But
what are you talking about? Just
Honda.
Hold on a second. Let me just say though, if you're renting your house in India for Coachella, you don't have to have the Ferrari. The person renting your house might have the Ferrari.
Oh yeah, that's what you're saying.
Right? It's the person that's
they come with their Ferrari.
Yeah, they come with their Ferrari. They got to flex for their friends. They got to flex for the gram. Right? I mean, the place fills up with those people. You know how it is. I mean, I'm not telling you.
Yeah.
This is the stuff you're supposed to be telling me. This isn't the stuff I'm supposed to be telling you.
So, okay, so we got the legal stuff. We got the insurance stuff. What about marketing? Because I think for marketing, when it comes to any business, is almost the most important thing.
Yeah, I mean, I think the obvious answer is usually social media. I think something that a lot of people overlook is just putting it on your own personal social media. I own this house, I rent it out. If any of my friends are looking for a place to stay, or the friends of my friends are looking for a place to stay.
Yeah.
I mean, I think that's the best and most valuable and least utilized method, quite frankly. A lot of people go to starting a page on Instagram
I've seen
for their home or whatever.
Vacation homes.
Whatever gets you eyeballs, right? I mean, so I don't want to say that that's not the way to do it, but I think a lot of people overlook the good old fashioned, if you're going to Coachella, chances are you're going with friends and they're going with other friends. People that are going, they know people that are going. So that word of mouth, I think, is priceless, like it would be for any business, right? And so I think that's a great way to go about it. But yeah, quite frankly, Coachella is such an amazing festival and such a big draw at this point that you don't really need that much advertising for this weekend in particular. It's probably the other times of the year where it's, important to get the word out that you got this great place with a pool or whatever.
I was at the Tack Room Tavern, which is in the Polo Fields. I drove by. They have like containers full of just waters and soda. I can't even imagine how many truckloads of Arrowhead water that they had to just buy just to keep up with like the.
So today's what? It's Tuesday. Today's the high is 75 degrees. Coachella starts, or 77 degrees today. Coachella starts on Friday, right? Yeah. And the high is going to be what?
How do you check?
It's like 97 degrees. It's not going to be 77 degrees anymore, man. As soon as Coachella shows up, so does the
So
heat.
Yesterday with the crazy wind, keep seeing these conspiracy theories. Like they turn on the weather machine.
I mean, what do you think the fans are that you see when you're coming in, right? Isn't that what's blowing the cold air down to cool us off when it's so hot here?
It's true.
No, that's not true at all. That's something my dad used to say back in the day, actually, believe it or not. Like that's how they cool off the desert. Yeah. Look, hold on. Coachella weekend 1 is notorious for being hot. You're notorious for being hot because it's always hot at that time. So, there you go.
There's also hot women.
Take it easy over there. Take it easy.
You give a mic to the producer.
Yeah, and also that's what he's going to chime in with getting us canceled. Speaking of getting canceled, here he is. Ladies and gentlemen, there are good-looking people of all sizes, ages, and varieties at the Coachella Music Festival.
Go for the music, Brian. We go for the experience.
Now, you know what's funny is I think at this point, a lot of people go for the party. They go for the fun. It's a good time. The music's almost like when there's great acts that everybody loves, or like, what I think generally is looked at as like a phenomenal lineup, then sure, I think that, people go for the music. I mean, don't get me wrong. And I'm sure this year there's still people going for the music. It is a music festival, right?
Yeah.
But I think festivals getting bigger and bigger in the phrasing, right? Like, hey, check out what you can eat at the music festival,
right?
They
just released the food lineup. It's all these amazing food places.
A food lineup.
A food lineup.
With
like world-class chefs coming to town to make you sushi at
Rose Garden. I wish they had the food lineup the way they have like the actual lineup where they have like the acts and like spicy pie and big letters. That'd be awesome. You know what I mean?
Yeah, it's just becoming a big spectacle. And there's like
Cool House ice cream sandwiches or whatever, right? You can just have it on the little board. No, I mean, look, I think it's a great thing. I also know there's a lot of locals that have vendor stands in there as well. Like I know for a fact, if you get the like the Mexican street corn, I think is what they officially call it on the sign, right? That's like a local field. That's a local corn farmer. It's like his kid's kind of little business operation. And I mean, I know he's not the only one. He's just one that I know of. Yeah. But there's all kinds of people out there doing their thing. Selling what they got, and for the most part, I think those are the best. That's some of the best thing about Coachella is the food, and
the music is like the last thing you think about. Like you're gonna go to Coachella, you don't even look at the lineup, and that's why it sells out before the lineup even drops. So June, if you're listening to this podcast, if you're gonna miss out this year's Coachella, there's gonna be a pre-sale on the first week of June. You're not gonna know what the lineup is gonna be for the next like 7 to 8 months, except Frank Ocean, the only confirmed.
Yeah, right.
But besides that, it's like you're gonna buy your ticket because it's gonna be fun.
Well, the same way you have people who are like, oh, you got to see this act, you can't miss so and so on the main stage or so and so on the Coachella stage, like whatever that is. You see people walking around with food, and you're like, oh, you got to try this. Because I remember there's definitely been things I've tried that I never expected to eat, like
some
at a
weird
music festival. Yeah, I definitely had like a vegan. Oh man, what was it called? It was like a gravy on French fries. It was really good. I wish I remembered what it was. Poutine. It was the leader of Russia. No, but I'm just saying it was poutine, and it was really good.
We need more local vendors. I never would have
gotten. Yeah, I mean, why not?
We need way more. Like they'll bring in like these. We have like a ton of taco spots here, and they get like a taco spot from LA coming here. And it's like, just pick one.
Well, I think the problem, though, I mean, you have to understand there's also some notoriety behind those taco trucks, right? Like, so when you get one of those branded, I mean, it goes back to marketing, right? When you get one of those really well branded taco trucks, it's not gonna be able. You're gonna have a hard time competing with it. So remember, the festival is not only helping the food places have bigger names for themselves, but some of the bigger food names are helping the festival, right? I mean, it's kind of a mutually beneficial relationship there. I don't disagree, though. There should definitely be, and I think, to be honest, I think they do a pretty good job of trying to incorporate some locals, but there could always be more. There should always be more.
Yeah, it should be it should be way more. I feel like they only, like you said, maybe one or two they throw them in there, especially with artists too. Like there's like one every year.
But don't you think those people should be competing? Like they should be able to compete. Like you shouldn't just get a free pass in the Coachella because you're from Indio. Like I mean that doesn't. If your food is not as good as the vendor next to you, you're not going to sell anything anyways. So like why would you subject yourself to that? And then if you're Coachella, why would you give up this space? And I'm not trying to hate because I know we definitely have local companies that are more than capable of competing, right? I mean you could definitely throw like a TKB sandwich joint up in there, Coachella spot, and I'm sure they would do great. And if those who don't know what TKB is, get your head up right out of your you know what and figure out what that is, because I mean TKB is amazing. And at the same time, there's also like the local coffee guys that I think actually kind of had a throwdown with them, right?
They're 6th Street Coffee.
Yeah, they're. I mean, I'm not much of a coffee guy, but I know a lot of people love their stuff.
Yeah.
So there's definitely people that can compete, but I mean, I'm just trying to blast you a little bit, Angel. You're always trying to give love to the locals, and I'm not against giving love to locals, but I want the locals to earn it. I want there to be.
They gotta grind it out. Yeah, because they are big brands. I was looking at some of them, like they have huge followings. Of course, bigger market.
And I mean, like Tacos Gonzalez, right? Which is like
fire.
Jefferson and
it's all hidden. It's like a hidden gem.
But like those tacos to compete, they're damn good. It's
Allende, shout out Allende.
Yeah.
I'm just shouting out the favorite tacos.
Yeah, right. I mean, I'm just saying.
Cool. They could compete,
listen,
but I don't know.
I'm not trying to act like I'm the taco guy on the podcast here. Like, don't get me wrong. I'm sure you know some.
I could talk about
yeah, I'm sure you could
Taco
take me
Shop
to some
760
spots.
with the birria, bro. They have a birria one that's coming to Coachella, but I guarantee you the one that's right there on Clamp.
So check this out. As long as we're talking about the 760 tacos or whatever. Yeah. So I see their stuff on Instagram and I'm like, I've never heard of this. I don't even know where this is. I need someone who like.
We gotta bring.
I need the culture to take me there.
Next podcast, we're gonna have Amir try it out. We're gonna do ASMR podcast. When he does that birria, make sure you have it next to the mic.
No, but I mean, like the first time I went to like Mexicali Cafe down on India Boulevard, you gotta have someone who speaks Spanish with you. You gotta have some street.
Oh yeah, they don't even hire. Like, have you been to Cardenas?
Oh, of course.
They don't even speak English.
I mean, what's amazing is like one of the joys of being Middle Eastern is like when you're around a lot of people that are Hispanic, they just assume that you're like part of the crew and they just start speaking to you in Spanish. And I'm like, nah, man, wrong team. And they're like, oh, what, really? They're like surprised that I don't speak Spanish. I mean, I could speak enough to like get through a 10th grade Spanish test, but not enough to like, flow through Cardenas. You know what I mean? Especially the accent. The accent's bad, right? As soon as you start, talking to me about anything that needs an accent, then I sound, as gringo as they come.
But it's good when you try though. People like that you're trying.
Oh yeah, they chuckle.
You try to speak. What is it? There's like a quote like, "Speaking someone's language is like the key to their heart," or something. I don't know how the quote.
I thought food was the key to the heart.
Was it?
Whatever. Yeah, I'll go with that. I mean, no, that's true though. Anytime you have someone that tries without like being a purposeful jackass,
course,
right?
Yeah.
Then I got love for that for sure. Why not? Why not?
So there's something I want to talk to you about.
No. This podcast is over.
We have to bring
the music.
We have to bring out hit the music. We need some sweet chin music. Is
You want to talk about wrestling?
So we were talking about wrestling, and so in the last podcast we had some technical difficulties, production. Sometimes
these guys want me to talk about wrestling. I mean, why would you do this to me?
It's not just about wrestling.
Not just about wrestling, but a particular wrestler you used to party with.
Okay. Let's slow this down. First of all, I want to make very clear, I never partied with the wrestler because now Brian's sending me down a road filled with nothing but lies, and I don't need to go down these lies. So, okay, you ever met someone who's got like the same name as someone famous? That's what this story is really about, okay? And I mean, I guess it rolls into what I'm going to say one of the greatest parties I never attended because I didn't attend it. I wasn't there. And that's how the story's going to go. We're going to talk about wrestling. We're talking about wrestling. We're talking about how it affects me personally. And then the greatest party that I never attended in my entire life, right? There's the summary that you've been waiting for. All right. A lot of people like Hulk Hogan. A lot of people like The Rock, Stone Cold Steve Austin, all these kind of, the biggest names in wrestling. Some people think they're, going to go counterculture and they love Triple H, right? I am the game.
I like
whatever.
Triple H.
Yeah, of course you do. You're the Triple H kind of guy. But the truth is, my favorite wrestler is none of those big name guys. It's not The Rock. I can smell what he's cooking. It's not Triple H. I know he's the game. But if you love wrestling, then you need a sexier superstar. You need the Heartbreak Kid, Shawn Michaels. Hit the music. He's just a sexy boy, sexy boy. Okay, so Shawn Michaels, I mean, I'm not gonna lie. He was a rocker. He was partners with Marty Jannetty. They were awesome when they were together. It was a totally different vibe, other than like the wet long hair. I think they still had that part going. But I mean, generally speaking, he's got all the skills that make a wrestler awesome. Now, I mean, I'm going to go on a little digression here and just say the following. When I was a little kid, my dad used to tell me that this was real. My dad used to tell me like this was a real fight. Like this was basically UFC. We didn't have UFC in the early 80s, or at least if they did, it was like the real Gracie stuff, right?
Yeah.
But like, I thought it was real when I was a little kid. I'm just going to be honest. I thought it was real.
We all did.
We all did, right? Thank you, Brian. I appreciate you. Just even if that's a lie, I appreciate you jumping in
He
the
still
canoe.
believes it's real. Too.
Yeah, he's like, what do you mean? He thought it was real. It is real. So I thought it was real. And then like everything else, I won't name anything, specific, Easter bunnies, Tooth Fairy, Santa Claus, whatever. I started to recognize that maybe it wasn't. And I started to basically question whether this was real. Is Shawn Michaels really this incredible fighter that I believe he is? And what's funny is rather than back down, my dad said, so what you're telling me is that they pay these guys enough money to wear these tiny outfits and dance around to these songs and then pretend fight? How much would it cost to make you like wear a Speedo, oil up and pretend fight another man? And I was like, oh my God, he's right. Maybe it is real. Why would they do this but it's entertainment, and Shawn Michaels is as good as it gets when it comes to entertainment. And you fast forward to the, beautiful year 2001, 2002. I'm in law school. There's a striking young man, not quite as good looking as the actual Heartbreak Kid, Shawn Michaels, but what he has going for himself, besides the wit and wisdom it takes to actually be in the law school class in the first place, his name was Shawn Michaels. Now, immediately, the moment I realized that was his name, it was on. I was like, this guy's my new best friend. How could I not be friends with Shawn Michaels, the Heartbreak Kid in law school or whatever, right? And that was it. And I even told him. And I don't think I was the first person to really tell him like, hey, you have the same name as this like world famous wrestler. But I was probably the first person to like hit the pose, right? To like flex on, like just show him like, Shawn Michaels, what I'm talking about? I did like the strut, across the like, the aisles of the, if you're listening and not watching this, you're missing me do the strut, but what I'm talking about, right?
Yeah.
The strut, right? And so he knew that I was insane. All right. I mean, that's what that shows. He knew that I was crazy. And I just became not just a fan of the actual wrestler, but this guy and I became friends. And I'm not going to lie, like the entirety of our friendship, effectively, whatever amount of friendship that existed, was built on me yelling out, Shawn Michaels, the Heartbreak Kid, and him looking at me like I was crazy. Like over and over and over again. And it didn't matter who he was with. Didn't matter what we were doing. He could walk in the damn library. As soon as I saw him, it was like I wanted to hit the music. Like when he walked in, he deserved the whole, lights go off and the red.
Sparklers.
Yeah, man, that's Shawn Michaels.
Mr. WrestleMania.
Yeah, I guess Mr. WrestleMania. That's right. Shawn Michaels. Sweet chin music, baby. Shawn Michaels. And if you don't like wrestling, you can now tune back in, because what Shawn Michaels pulled off has gone down in the annals of Amir Afsar as one of the greatest party things I've ever seen in my entire life. I understand this may be pushing the envelope of cancellation according to my young brethren here. So I will start by saying I did not attend this event. I do not necessarily condone it, but I do think it was pretty awesome for back then when we weren't quite as woke as we are today. That's my disclaimer that I don't necessarily 100% believe in, but I think it's a good thing to say anyways. The point being, Shawn Michaels threw a party and he said it's going to be a Cowboys and Indian theme. Now, I don't know why I couldn't attend. Maybe I wasn't good enough looking. I don't know. Maybe because Amir Afsar is not really, I'm not ravishing Rick Rude. I didn't have a wrestling name. Who knows? But I wasn't invited personally. No
You're
offense.
a Bret Hart fan.
If Shawn Michaels is listening right now, I don't hate you. It's okay that you didn't invite me. It still goes down as the greatest photos you'll ever see. Cowboys and Indian party. And why was this so great? Well, he told the guys, it's a Cowboys and Indians party. Cowboys, you're the guys. Every guy, if you want to come to this party, you need to dress like a cowboy. If you're not dressing up, you're not coming. Don't even show up. So all these guys, they knew, and they came dressed like cowboys. And he told all the ladies, it's a Cowboys and Indians party. And all the ladies, you're the Indians. And he even told them, dress up like Indians. If you're not dressed up like Indians, you ain't coming to this party. Cowboys and Indians party. And took a bunch of pictures of all the Cowboys and the Indians. You can imagine. I mean, it looks amazing. The only thing better than all the photos of the Cowboys and the Indians is when Shawn Michaels himself comes out, the Heartbreak Kid from law school, not the real wrestler, the guy from law school, comes out as like the chief Indian. I'm talking face paint. I'm talking necklaces, like authentic looking. I mean, I don't know if it's real. I don't want to take it easy here, right? But I'm talking like legitimately large headdress. It could have been like a movie wardrobe, right? And then takes a photo with like all his little Indians. Now, I understand that in 2022, these young gentlemen that I'm making this podcast with look at me with some small concerns, but I will say the following. It looked like a damn good time. And I wasn't there to stop it. I wasn't there to break it up. I wasn't dressed as a cowboy, Indian, or police officer, but I can tell you the photos looked awesome. It looked like everybody had a great time. I don't believe anybody was dressed as a cowboy against their will. I don't believe anybody was dressed as an Indian against their will. As far as I know, nobody was offended. Maybe this story is the most offensive part. But at the end of the day, what you really need, the great takeaway from this story is the following. If for some reason your name is the same as the name of a wrestler, you better get to know that wrestler and be ready to strike the poses when someone calls you out. Because the only thing Shawn Michaels could have done to improve his cool factor with me would have been to hit the poses when I was like, you're Shawn Michaels. If he just would have, and I mean, I hope you know what I'm talking about, right? The
Yeah, of
one
course.
leg straight, dip it down,
Yeah,
bring the,
fucking-
yeah, see, there you go, hit it, Angel. Let me see, there you go. He's just a sexy boy. See, look at that, that's why, yeah, see, he's just a boy, right? So, I mean, this is as good as it gets. When your name is Amir Afsar and you're like Amir on the wall, come here, Amir, up here, right here. When you've been nothing but made fun of because of your name, your entire childhood. I mean, even in law school, they called me Mr. A because it was easier than saying my whole last name, which by all means I was okay with because I didn't want to hear people butcher my name all the time, right? Shawn Michaels. Like, dude, your parents are awesome. Congratulations.
That was the best story I've ever heard.
You're easily entertained. I'm just saying, I mean, think about it. If your name was Hulk Hogan, think about if your name was, I mean, okay, quick side story. In chemistry class in high school, the teacher would be like, I'll call you whatever you want to be called. And some smart ass kid in class was like, call me Hulk. And the whole year, the chemistry teacher never broke. Hulk every time. It was amazing. Now, he didn't say Hulk Hogan. He just said Hulk. But if you're named after a wrestler, a superstar, I mean, out there somewhere is somebody who's probably named their kid like, Sean Combs, right? So there's some Diddy, you better know the Diddy dance, right? You got to know that Diddy dance if you're named Sean Combs, even if you're a white kid
There's
from
something
suburban
negative.
Philadelphia.
There's negativity that comes with that, though.
Get over it. Get over it. From someone who's named after nothing but been made fun of. I mean, Amir. Come on, Smear the Queer. The game that, like, okay, again, the game itself is now totally frowned upon as, like, inappropriate. It doesn't mean that kids aren't playing Tackle the Guy with the Ball, which is like the, proper name for the game. But your name's Amir. And the game's called Smear the Queer. How Amir, queer, appear right here, smear the Amir. I mean, come on. And you want me to feel bad for the guy that's Shawn Michaels, the Heartbreak Kid, Mr. WrestleMania himself? I mean, come on.
Not for that guy, but I did read about this guy in Canada, like a 30-year-old. His name was Justin Bieber.
I mean,
30-year-old.
He needs to dance.
He was getting fan mail. He was getting people showing up at his house. He has Facebook account deleted like 5 times because they thought he was like a pedophile, just trying to. So there is some negativity of your name.
Justin Bieber. That's funny. That wasn't what I was expecting. The
So look-
Biebs. I mean, I don't know. Being Justin Bieber would be a little bit heavy.
Are you the
But
most successful Amir Afsar?
I have no. Well, I think if you put together Amir Afsar, probably. But I know there is like a Bollywood movie that's called Afsar or something. So sometimes if you only type in Afsar, that Bollywood movie will come up. Angel loves Bollywood. Here we go. But that's a whole nother side story for another
Don't sleep on
episode.
Bollywood movies,
Yeah,
I'm
that's
just saying.
going to be a teaser for a future episode when I spring on the we need to build.
Bahubali!
No, stop it. We need to grow the viewership. We don't need to scare people away. All right. So let's stick to WWE.
Thank you for listening to this Angel and the Advocate podcast. If you have any questions, submit them in the comments section below. And don't forget to subscribe so you never miss an episode.